guy's capable of, and when he's the one that can dictate what's going to happen in team fights, T1 generally have a good time. But on paper, Bro's draft looks good, and we'll just have to see how Polu plays around it. He's had an uptick in his performance, and that's going to need to stick around if Bro are going to win this game number 1. Let's get into it.
소환사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for game number 1. We'll see who's going to be able to walk away with the victory. Will the Giga Chads be able to topple the Titans? That is the question. They do at least have Blue Side. Blue Side has been very powerful here, but as we can see, the resulting draft isn't necessarily massive draft gap outside of the fact that the top side is going to be very, very strong here for Bro. And I think their early skirmishing is something that they'll be able to play around. They have been able to go toe-to-toe, even with their difficult strength of schedule in the early game.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
The good old def thumbs up, you love to see it.
That's kind of been the whole thing about our East Side teams this season, is that the laning phase is not a problem. It's what happens after that. It's what happens when we get to objectives. It's what happens when more experienced teams, our veterans who are mostly on the West Side teams, or more successful veterans, because I'd call, at this point, Morgan and Closer veterans, what they are able to do together, or what they're not able to do, what they try to do and fail to do, which leads to, sometimes we see flips on the second Grub fight that opens up games disastrously after you had such a great laning phase, or even after you got like a duo kill in the bottom lane, but then you messed things up on the top side. So see what Polu can get done on this Rakan, just trying to be annoying right now.
Yep, the good old point-blank Gleaming Quill. You're going to land that one. As Gumayusi has a pretty good win rate on Varus. As we know, this guy, this is his champion.
World's objective steals, etc., etc. There's so many things you could say about Guma's Varus.
Yep.
And none of them are bad.
As Polu still standing forward. Actually doing a decent job here as Closer going to tank a Death Ray, and Polu is going to straight up miss the Grand Entrance and everything else.
Got a flash out of Guma though.
Yep, that is certainly a good move. Didn't even notice that, Wolf, so I'm glad you picked that one up. I would have seen it at the end and been like, hang on, why is that flash on cooldown?
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice flash there from Guma. Really a lot of pressure being put on from Polu before level 2 gets hit from Keria. That's the window you have to get a flash, and he's actually able to just eke it out barely there before Guma and Keria hit that level 2.
Yep, so actually I had completely the wrong tone. It's a huge win for Bro on the bottom side.
Oh, it's all good. I mean, it's a whiff, technically speaking, for sure. Faker is getting a lot of value out of this mid lane too, Atlas. Obviously in the early levels, the Victor is just going to be able to press Q and E and annoy Closer repeatedly. We don't go first strike on Victor anymore, but in the past we would go first strike on a matchup like this. As Skarner's been struggling.
Yeah, a lot of losses in a row, and I feel like we've seen this every single time it's been picked. Has still been prioritized very highly as Humbug looking to go aggressive, and as soon as the flash is down, Gumayusi has to play this defensively. Heroic Charge not going to quite work out there as Hype. Where was that going?
He's got, unfortunately, standing on a ward as well, Humbug here, so no mystery. I like the idea. I don't know about the Hype shot there, but I like the idea of trying to force out this steadfast presence, but now Skarner's coming down.
Yeah, Heroic Charge not quite going to land as far as the stun is concerned, but now we're looking for a crab as there's the flash in from Polu. Deadly Flourish comes down as well as Gumayusi able to at least use the cleanse, but it doesn't do anything. That's going to be first blood going over to Polu as the Bros strike first.
They even get the teleport from Closer. Like, the Closer is so committed to this play. Bro were really wanting to make this work, and because Faker was just going to teleport back to lane anyways, he just walks back to lane, so he doesn't really lose the teleport for committing to the play, but they even had that as a backup in that skirmish there. And T1 usually not the team to lose skirmishes like that, but the lack of flash there for Guma gives so much agency to Polu in those moments. His owner did show up. He knew, okay, this is turning into an extended fight. I need to be there for this. But unfortunately, Guma was cut off there, and T1 got a little bit split. Really aggressive plays from this Rakan, making it look like the Poppy isn't a counter with how much tempo they got early.
Yeah, playing around some cooldowns really, really nicely here. As it looked like Humbug was in an awkward spot.
Yeah, Keria pushes him into the wall and then actually is kind of cut off from Guma. The only way he could rejoin Guma is if he flashed the wall instantly, and by the time this happens, he can't get in there. There's no peel for Guma whatsoever, who doesn't have flash, and he is just going to get run down. So really great set of plays from Palu in this early game. Like you said, he's had a bit of a resurgence that needs to continue, and so far it is.
Yeah, Faker spots out Humbug as he moves his way over. But it is going to be Dragon spawning first. T1 with a lot of vision control. But Palu able to move in towards Faker here. The Flash has to respect the Rakan, and Palu is on the warpath today.
Yeah, he's the Flash burglar.
He is.
He's got 2 already, and we'll see if they can make a follow-up gank happen now onto this immobile Victor. Faker not going to be happy with that one, but again, Palu making the plays. I didn't like this Rakan pick just because I thought it was going to be so easily shut down in team fights, but he's already getting value with it in this early game.
Yeah, and honestly, the bros have been pretty good at that, you know, setting up for these early games. And we'll just see whether it's going to be enough to actually get them into a late game that's going to work. Because remember, this is Faker's Victor. He doesn't do things necessarily in the early stages. He's all about just winning the game as that continues. So the laning phase isn't quite as impactful as the amount of just raw damage he does from mid to late. And that's what Victor has always been kind of known for. The one big question mark here is Doran playing Aurora. And I was a bit curious, right? Because Aurora doesn't feel like a Doran champion.
No.
He has played it one time in his career, and it was a win.
Do you know who he played it against?
No.
Okay.
But I can theoretically find out.
I was just curious if there was any additional context there. But I also don't associate him with the pick, as Hype gets his full shot here.
Yeah, it's going to be working out. But you can see Gumayusi also down relatively low.
He has to hit this.
All right, Palu going to be diving in. Carrier turns up, and that is going to nullify the aggression.
Hype had barriers, so continuing that further without any help would have been potentially a big mistake from Guma, but Carrier was coming over. And he does, of course, hit his abilities, forces the barrier out of Hype, so Hype can't continue the chase after the reload. And triple grubs being picked up here by Oner in the early stages of this game. Traded for a Dragon. Next one going to be a Cloud. So Earth, Wind, and Fire?
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be Infernal. The amount of Earth, Wind, and Fires that T1 gets just in general, often it is Cloud Soul for T1, but they just get a lot of just those Dragons in particular. So I think it's highly likely that we get a Fiery Rift, which I think is very fun. Lots of Blast Cones, and we have Valdez with us here today, and that is very important. He loves a good Disengage Cone.
Yeah, there's a lot of power for T1's comp, especially if they have Infernal Soul and even additional stacked Infernal Dragons, just the Elemental Drakes themselves, for very strong burst damage for this Aurora, tons of damage for the Varus and the Victor. A little bit less impactful for a lower range composition like what Bro has, but still quite good for any team, frankly. It's one of the safest and strongest souls that works with anything.
Yeah.
Could also be Hextech, but it could also be Chemtech.
Yeah, or Ocean.
Yeah, we listed all of them, but I'm feeling like it's either going to be Infernal or Hextech or be Hyped, or it's going to be Chemtech. Ocean is, we'll be like, whatever. Yeah,
it really is. We've got some, it's either going to be incredibly cool or just not really a thing that we care about at all. Yeah, it's a tough one. As Oner, he's looking to make his way in. Hype and Palu moving pretty far up here as Chains of Corruption going to lock down this Rakan. He's able to grant entrance, though, and that gets him to safety. So they press a lot of buttons. They do get a flash out of Hype, but it was a bit of an investment there as well from T1.
Yeah, Guma had the flash to set that up with the Chains of Corruption, and I guess Oner thought the only way he can lock them down after watching the replay is to flash for the Impale, and he didn't want to commit to it, so decides not to use the Impale at all. And so Palu just walks it off. Didn't have flash, didn't need it. Now he's got it back up.
Yeah.
Did have to heal, of course, to help build that distance, but well handled there by Bro, because it looked like that was a big overextension that was going to be very, very aggressively punished, as Hype's going to hold the wave in an awkward spot here for Guma as well, who now doesn't have that flash. Love to see moves like this.
Yeah, that's not going to give them a whole lot of tempo, but this lane is in a bit of a rough spot. Hype able to farm very, very comfortably. And Closer and Palu setting up here in this mid lane to try and get around the enemy jungle where they can. Closer able to get a little bit of damage onto Faker here.
Jungle is behind here for Oner, so Hambak could either try to go for a gank bomb side or try to be aggressive here with Palu as Oner finishes this clear, and they're going to come up and look for this.
Yeah, that is going to be the camp secured by Oner.
Organ here as well, and luckily for Oner, he just got the clear before they show up, so he's not going to be under too much threat.
Yeah, Gravity Field going down here as Carrier shows himself in mid lane. Might mean that Morgan can do something towards that top side. You can see CS relatively even between the Rumble and the Aurora.
Guma falling a little bit further behind in CS, but nothing too crazy here in the bottom lane after that freeze towards the turret. As Keria is looking for some deep vision, so you can see there's a lot of vision around this dragon that does spawn here in 90 seconds. As the focus for Bro has definitely been more topside here for the second objective. Second Grubs is where they have all their control and where they were playing around Owner's Jungles. Here comes Keria.
Not going to quite find the target, and it's Gumayusi that's turned on here. Chains of Corruption are fantastic, though, as Hype just getting melted by this Varus.
TP.
And Polu can't actually get in there to get the damage done. Faker turns up just to save his AD carry, and Closer not going to be able to do anything because there are 4 members of T1 in this bottom lane. The Impale and the Yone is delivered on a silver platter to this Varus.
It looked so good at the outset, but it does end up being T1 playing it better. Faker is there for the cover, and Closer comes in, trying to salvage the play, trying to get that kill on the Varus, but Guma is totally fine. He dies for it. T1 walk away very happy and start to take a significant gold lead here. In the meantime, though, the Grubs are taken by Hambach at least, so Guma doesn't have flash. Keria is seen here, and so when the Keeper's Verdict comes through, he just whips it as Polu engages at the same time here onto Guma, but the Chains of Corruption keep him at bay, and Hype is just locked down by Keria. He can't actually follow up and hit the damage onto Guma to finish him off, and Closer realizes, okay, I need to come and salvage the situation, but Faker had prio. He was already on the roam, and unfortunately here, there is just no way to get out here for Closer. Just too much lockdown. Owner didn't use his ult, so can use it to make sure they guarantee the kill onto Yone.
Yep, beautifully done. Some flashes invested, but I think you'd say absolutely worth here as Closer looking to take out some of his frustrations on Faker's bone plating, and will be able to do so. But not too much going to occur here. And one thing that I wanted to talk about before all of that action broke out is the fact that Gumayusi is actually playing the on-hit variety of the Varus. It's not necessarily his bread and butter on this pick. But now he's in a great spot this game. Hambach not so much, as now he throws out the ulti onto Keria. Chains of Corruption comes down. 3-man knock up there from Polu as the equalizer is actually going to burn down Guma. He's not going to offer too much more, but Doran, he puts them in the circle, and now Morgan's just trying to barbecue T1. The curtains have been called. So much value here from the Jhin as Morgan continuing the Flame Spitter. And Keria, with that steadfast presence, the flash forward, and Closer just wishes he still had the ultimate, but he doesn't! And so T1 will limp away with these health bars so extremely low.
Wasn't looking the best in the early laning phase, but Keria has been so phenomenal in these last few moments, locking down Hype in that fight to save Guma, saving Faker in this moment. Massive knock-up from him in the fight as well to stop the follow-up.
How did
so much
no one die?
Crazy that nobody dies. Do you watch this breakout at first? It's like, okay, Closer's got maybe an angle here with his ultimate. Maybe if we set something up with Hambach's ult, we can really look for a big fight here. They find Keria. Closer coming in. The TP is coming over as well from both top laners. Morgan's equalizer here hits Guma as he gets caught by the Deadly Flourish, but he doesn't really care. The front line is being lost here by Bro. And of course, with no ultimate left, Closer's going to find this very awkward to re-engage. He pushes the wave instead while the ult comes out here from Hype. And I think that's why nobody dies. I think if Closer goes in with Morgan here, they could probably secure a kill. They were a little bit disjointed on it, and the Keria says, no, stay away from my mid laner, and denies Closer the play, almost guaranteeing a kill there for Faker as well.
Yep, Closer just got denied anything in that fight. I think as if that Yone manages to get a big ultimate, that is so good for Bro. Instead, it is T1 able to limp away now with a bit of a gold advantage there as well as they take down the dragon, and obviously it's an Infernal. I mean, we knew this.
Yeah.
We knew this. Has to be the Earth, Wind, and Fire. And T1 now just going to be able to shove some waves in here. Even on the dragons, even on the grubs, and the gold is within 200. Something like that. It's such a close game.
It's a really close game, and I do think that even though T1 have incredibly strong late game with the Aurora side lane pressure, Victor scaling, and Varus with his on-hit build into the Sejuani, he's going to be feeling really comfortable. He also has Cleanse, so he's going to be pretty safe later on. I like T1's late game, but I don't think that it's a safe enough situation here yet for T1 because there's still a lot of power in these mid-game fights with Bro's composition. They definitely could pull ahead. And this is an exciting one. Definitely turning out a lot closer than I thought when I saw that Rakan lock in.
Absolutely. And I think that things are going to get harder for Rakan as the game goes on, right? Like the ability to fight when there's not a Poppy is going to become less and less. But still, we've seen that Bro have been able to navigate these fights relatively well. I think so much is going to be on Humbug and how much they can get summoner spells out of the damage dealers of T1.
Oh, there's a control ward here. Doran could just die if they commit to the dive.
Well, Closer's going to be backing away now, looking to turn it as the Glacial Prison comes in. Doran throws down the ulti and is going to be able to stay alive.
There's no minion wave, so they don't commit to the dive. Closer had an ult angle there, but was scared that the turret damage was going to be too much. They get Doran's ult, but that's it.
Still, Bro just testing, you know, finding angles. As Faker here towards the top side, putting pressure onto the Lord. And Morgan doing okay right now, as you can see, is actually ahead by a wave over Doran on this Aurora. Both of them have their first items completed. And I just wanted there to be another team fight. I want another team fight. I want maybe one where, you know, someone dies on either side, you know?
Herald's up in 15 seconds here, and I think that's where T1 have their eye. They have a lot of vision, a lot of control wards towards the top side of the map. Doran has TP as well. While they're putting a lot of pressure on him right now, this time there is a wave. This time he is going to be engaged on by Palu.
Yeah, he does get charmed up momentarily, but Carrier, he's just running on over. And Palu not going to be able to get out of there. Let's get stunned into the wall as now Faker taking some damage from Morgan, who said, nah, I guess I'll just run away from the Chaos Storm. Fair enough.
Fair enough indeed.
Gets the ulti though, so that is certainly something here.
Palu,
Morgan,
not having his ult in this upcoming fight does hurt a little bit, and see if that fight does break out. I think it will, as T1 really looked like they wanted to heavily commit to top side. I mean, that's part of why Faker ulted there. They really want to make sure they have control, especially with the commitment of Carrier. Their bottom side need to rush over there, maintain that control. They still have so many control wards as they're looking for an angle.
I think Hype is probably dead, ladies and gentlemen. As the Impale comes through, he had nothing that he could do about that situation whatsoever.
And there's just, I mean, there's a control ward there to the top side. They have 2 wards on the bottom side. T1 have all the information, so they're like, all right, you think you're safe because you have a turret, but you can't see where any of us are, and we know exactly that there's no one to save you. And they just commit in easily, and they don't even get to have that team fight that we were talking about because they kill the AD carry. They say, this is mine for free.
Yep, and that's going to be Feats of Strength there as well. So Feats of Warfare picked up, and immediately afterwards they lock down the upgraded shoes. As you can see there, they had 5 ready. Faker doesn't exactly have much ready for this one, though, as the ulti from Closer is decent. They get the knock-up on the Skarner, but they're too tanky. There's not enough damage here for Bro, and they're unable to get either of the kills.
Yeah, they really want that kill so badly. Faker's very low, doesn't have his flash anymore. And they're going to maybe have to settle for trying to siege this turret, but I think even that is a bridge too far here. They needed to get that kill onto Faker. He's got so much wave clear here. While he's here, killing this turret is going to be so challenging. Owner is just going to play bodyguard here, and Faker will clear another wave. Hype considering coming over as Morgan.
Yeah, Doran is just going to put him in the circle. He waits it out and then flashes anyway.
And gets the plant as well.
Well, that's true. That is 2 petals for 1.
Yeah, that's, you know, you flash out, but you grab a petal on the way out, so you feel better about it.
Yep, consolation petals. Not too bad.
I thought perhaps right before that broke out bottom side, that Hype was going to commit his ult to try to push Faker away. Faker does have to back, of course, but the health of this turret is still quite high. Closer is trying to rush it down.
Yeah, teleport back in from Morgan as Faker gets back towards the top side, has that health bar well and truly replenished.
Yeah, first brick less relevant since Feats of Strength are already over. So the race in itself not as important as it once was, but still, both of these teams want those turrets.
Yeah.
Faker did not have to teleport to defend it, whereas, as you mentioned, Morgan did.
Closer. Once again going for a big trade. Palu comes down towards the bottom side, finds Owner. As that Harpoon managing to thread the needle there was quite nice from Morgan. As Owner comes in, picks up Palu, takes down the turret. And now it's Faker that could be in trouble. Closer now just flashing for it. Winter's Wrath comes down. I don't think the GOAT's going to be escaping from that one. And meanwhile, on the bottom side of the map, Doran is melting. Morgan would have really loved to have his flash back available, but he does not because Doran put on that pressure before, so he will survive. That's Hype and Gumayusi just facing off in mid.
It would have felt way better for Bro if they got both of those kills while trading the turret, but getting one still feels pretty nice. They've evened out the gold here as Carrier once again playing on this brush. Hype is going to be the target. Guma has ult. Carrier does not have Hex Flash though, so a little bit tough to pull off. He's got the Blast Cone, however.
Yeah, I've seen this before, ladies and gentlemen, as Humbug is moving over, does find Carrier, who doesn't manage to quite stun him. A steadfast presence gives him the extra movement speed so he can make his way out. Morgan in an uncomfortable spot here as Faker's going to turn up, and with Owner there as well, Bash Bros back at it again, pushes him into the gravity field. That's gorgeous play here from the T1 jungler, and Morgan nowhere to go. Decent little knock up there from Polu, but I just don't think they've got the follow-up. As meanwhile, Keria has discovered Humbug, and then he gets closed in on by the rest of T1. The level of coordination just so much higher here.
And T1 just has so much more vision. I want to take a look. I mean, actually the control ward, or the ward score, or vision score is the same basically between Keria and Polu, but it just seems like T1 has invested so much more in control wards, and they always see more. They always have these angles. Faker can't make that play if there isn't a teleport location for him to go to. Speaking of Faker, we're going to go back to this, but Otacon is being taken alive, uncontested off of those kills here. So T1 are going to get that one. But anyways, Faker does end up getting collapsed on here. Not sure how Doran got so low in the bottom lane, but I guess we're not going to watch it since he didn't die. But over here, you know, Faker just TPs in. Morgan is way too far forward. Faker actually wraps around behind him here, and then they have the faster rotation. And as you mentioned, the teamwork, the coordination is better. Keria here on the catch at the end, as well as Guma rotates over, as Hype is nowhere to be seen. Just pushing in the mid lane. He's a Jhin. You know, it's tough for him to get over in situations like this, but T1 are very well aware of that. And it's a great teleport play from Faker. They get the Otacon off of it, and they're back in control, 1,000 gold ahead.
Yep. The power of information there, Wolf. Hype he couldn't walk in case they were waiting, and then he would have just died. And so now should be an outer turret being picked up here by T1 in mid lane. Keria getting chased down by Closer, but I don't think he's too worried about it. And Owner is there. This health bar on the Skarner is getting a little bit absurd. Does have his Heartsteel now completed. That's a whole bunch of stacks that he has as well. Humbug doing decently well on that front at the same time, as see when that second item is going to be coming in.
Free crash, no commit to riding the Herald, don't need to. And Humbug wants to maybe try to get an exit ult here, but he's not going to be able to find one. And he's just busy clearing all of these wards. Look at there's so many wards for T1 this whole game around the objective they want, but now that they have full control, they've got wards on top, bottom, mid, you name it. Morgan can't be here.
Yeah, there's the Flash Heroic Charge. That'll set up the kill onto Morgan. He does manage to get an equalizer down, but it's just onto the minion wave. You really didn't think that Bro were going to be fighting for that one, but T1, they're going to be fighting. Turret is going to fall down, though, and that means that Owner is not going to be tanking up any damage at all. And T1, they got exactly what they came here for and more.
When you start winning fights off of the enemy team trying to clear your vision, that's how you know you're really in control. As Faker,
yeah,
really not.
Charmed up here. Fair bit of damage as Humbug, he's coming in as well. But remember, it's just a withdrawal that they're playing for, and they're not even going to get that.
Not even a flash.
Yeah, Owner coming on over, and he's going to be able to make it out. Humbug still wanting to get this kill onto Faker.
Yeah, with the slow, they just can't commit further. Closer wants to stop this, and he won't even be successful at that.
Yeah, unbinds the soul. Does find a bit of damage there, but otherwise not too much. As Humbug getting his health bar taken down lower and lower, but no real value being picked up. 2 items now done for Hype, but they don't really leave you feeling too excited.
Oh, it's one of those situations where it's close until it wasn't, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's just, like, Morgan's not on a ward here, but Keria wants to wrap around anyway, so taking the Raptors here when your team can't really leave the inner turret is just too risky. It's too greedy to try to make a play like that, because you're not a top laner that can get over the wall and punish T1. You're Rumble, so you really just can't be there, unfortunately. I get the thought process, because you don't want to just give T1 everything, but at this point, it feels like T1 get what they want, and you are just not going to stop them. Nope. What was a 1,000 gold lead is now turned into a 4,000 gold lead. The game was really close until it wasn't.
Yeah, and this is kind of been the woes of the Bros. I think it's because the Bro tax kind of stops. It has that initial influx right at the beginning of the game, and then people forget that Bro tax needs to continue, otherwise they run out of funding and can't actually finish off the game. And so, honestly, just not enough riding in purple.
Yeah, it was a lot of, I think, the budget allocation of the Bro tax maybe a little bit too heavy in the mid lane. It was the Faker taunt, so you can see it's really helping Closer out in the gold department, but it's just not quite working anywhere else, is it?
Nope. Not quite at all. As Gumayusi, most gold in the game. Closer is relatively close. We'll be able to get some money here from this turret going down as well. It's going to be Bro's second of the game, keeping things in touching distance, I guess.
If we talk about like how Bro could potentially win this game, which I do not and would not predict to occur based on the current game state, but the only way I think that they win this game is out of catching somebody who's too deep in sides, which would likely be Faker, but that hasn't really worked for them very well so far this game, or just getting a really insane combo with the Yone and the Rakan when Keria's Steadfast Presence is on cooldown because maybe he interacted with Hambach and was trying to deny him. Something like that, one big team fight win does put Bro back in the game, but T1 are so good at denying that, and their vision control this entire game and throughout, you know, basically SK Telecom's history has been insane, right? But in this game, they're really just not giving Bro an in. They're not giving them any chances, any angles of attack. So it's just so hard to actually find that miracle angle unless T1 mess it up.
Yeah. Bro just haven't been able to clear out these wards as they've come in. And as they make use of all the vision that they have, they get even more control as a result of it, right? It's just the epitome of the snowball effect.
And you can kill someone who's trying to clear a ward. We've seen it already. You know, if you're trying to actually do your due diligence and get that vision back, that puts you in danger. I mean, this is obviously League of Legends 101, but T1, they're well versed, and they're going to do a Baron on spawn, practically.
Yep, that's definitely the T1 way, as Glacial Prison is just thrown out for fun, but they avoid the ultimate from Keria. Doran throws his down, though. Equalizer is decent, as Doran is just dancing around the front of the fight, but still it's going okay here for Bro. The curtains have been cold, and Gumayusi is taking a lot of damage. Faker tanking up a lot of these bullets as well, as Morgan finally gets a kill in this fight. They will trade it for 2, though, as now Keria going down low, and Closer is starting to pop off. The flash forward gets the knock-up, and Faker avoids the ulti, but Doran's completely out of mana. Still, it has to be a pop back of this Yone, and T1 somehow managing to walk away, as Hype kind of wishing he didn't have to reload the entire time, and Doran just murders him.
Okay, Faker will finally go down there, I think to a red buff, but I will give Faker credit for the Zonias, but I gotta say, bro, you mistimed everything on when he was in stasis on the exit there, as it was a pretty good fight for Bro otherwise, especially because Keria misses the Keeper's Verdict. You called it out instantly in the play-by-play here. They just part like the Red Sea, and then they go on to Paulo. A lot of damage, a lot of abilities used on this Rakan. He dies instantly here, but Morgan's positioning is everything, because with the ultimate coming out from Hype, it's really hard to collapse onto this Rumble. They're trying to do it, but they don't have the damage because Hype's kind of kept Faker and Guma zone. Morgan does so much in this fight. And then when Closer shows up with his ultimate, Faker has a nice stasis here. What happens next?
Oh, good flash from Doran.
Is everything misses, and Faker flashes really well there. Sets up the gravity field as Hype kites back the left side, and then Faker is able to barely survive here with Faker's help. And then the red buff will finally do him in here with the final shot from Hype. But still, Faker and Doran got way more value out of that than I think they should have.
No, I would agree. I actually felt like it was a lot closer than it could have otherwise been. Still, Bro do stop the Baron, and the gold is still, you know, it's bad. It's not great for the Bros, right?
Slightly less bad than before.
Yeah, slightly less bad. As you can see, damage in the last fight. Hype actually getting a lot of value out of Ghostblade Rapid Fire Cannon, which kind of...
Yeah.
You saw him, it was kind of not hitting for the most damage, but that is going to increase.
His ult also was able to channel it freely and do a ton of damage with it in the beginning of the fight too. His owner is alone here.
Yeah, Apollo thinking about going aggressive, as Owner just being a human ward or a Skarner ward.
I mean, Owner just is the type of jungler who's not afraid of 3 people when he's Skarner, because he has the knowledge that they can't kill him, or they're going to have to commit so much to try to do so, then his teammates will have time to come over, and he's just like, I can be here. I'm threatening you. You're not threatening me.
Well, they're going to go for it. Morgan is in position, and that is going to be the ulti coming out from Owner. It's onto Humbug, though, and he's pretty tanky still. Taken down extraordinarily low. And Humbug will survive for the moment, but there's the flash forward from Keria, gets the double knock-up. Polu gets the charm onto Owner, and then battle dances his way out as Bros continue to go for the disengage. And Humbug actually able to get back home. That is a big deal, getting that big health bar filled up once again.
I mean, Hambach just tanked so much of the damage, so it looked like it was maybe a fightable fight there for Bro, but once the damage goes from T1, finally were able to close the gap there. They just had to leave, and that's no kills really going over to T1, but it is going to guarantee their second Infernal Dragon and Infernal Soul point here, so in terms of what they got from it, it's definitely a success at the end of the day, even though it didn't look like it was one in the kill feed. It looked like Bro had the great escape, but That's only one aspect of a team fight. Is they're going to just send it to Baron. It looks like here, Morgan running over. They have a lot of damage with this Rumble, but T1 don't have Keria here, interestingly, so maybe they can actually try to control this choke point. Keria is rotating over.
Yeah, there's a potential window, but I think this is going to be a 50-50, and honestly, Oner is pretty good. Never mind, this is going down so low, it is just stolen. Highway robbery here by the Bros. If you don't pay your taxes, they're just going to steal it.
There you go. They're going to get the empowered recalls here and get out for free. Oner didn't have flash, and they actually caught T1 at a weird timing where Keria was backed, and they actually didn't have really strong vision on the Baron. And the damage, even though they have a Jhin, I think maybe T1 miscalculated because of that, is really high on this Rumble, so they can actually go quickly.
Paulo, definitely the one that you want to get caught out because he has so much mobility. As Humbug finds the ulti onto Doran. There's the equalizer as well in the choke point. Still, Doran's able to do it, and in goes Oner once again. Somehow Paulo finds everyone. Humbug stays alive, but the Rakan instantly murdered.
Closer did a huge amount of CC with his ultimate, but they just don't have the follow-up damage anymore after that equalizer is gone, and so that type of combo can look devastating, but there just isn't any follow-up. As Hambach finding this angle here is excellent. As they're doing the red buff, Closer then looks for a potential follow-up angle here. Does end up going in with Palu and finds it, but where's the damage? You know, it's just a Jhin back there shooting as fast as he can, which is not very fast, and it's not very AoE, and so they got a lot of people CC'd. It looked really cool, but then T1 were like, all right, cool, we're out of here.
Yeah, it was a sick jump from Paulo, but unfortunately he just doesn't have a health bar. He's level 9, and he just kind of evaporates when he is seen.
That was the other issue I had with the Rakan we mentioned in chat. Like, this guy just pops when he goes in. You can have the engage maybe, but you die every time in turn for it.
It is pretty impressive, on that note, that Paulo's only died twice this game.
Yeah.
Because honestly, a lot of these fights have ended with a lot of people limping away rather than there being actual kills that are being collected as the Bros still playing up.
Yeah, they have Baron. They're going to take this red buff away from T1 and continue to pressure this top inner.
Yeah, there's the ulti straight on to Doran. Now goes Closer though as Hambach looking to go aggressive as well. Oner moves in as the equalizer goes down and actually just destroys the Aurora. Once again, Oner is going to find Hambach though as Closer finding a massive angle, gets on top of Gumayusi. He threw down the ulti, but it didn't land onto the Yone. Still, Guma will survive. And Morgan is barbecuing the entire team. There's the fourth shot from Hype as he takes down Keria. And now the Bros might be able to get some meaningful damage onto this inhibitor turret.
I can hear Dagon from here. This team fighting comp is so difficult to execute, especially when you've got Stasis to deal with. You got Faker's TP coming in. They played it so well, and they're going to get more than that in. They're going to get this inhibitor. 30 seconds on Faker, and Bro looking for an angle to end here.
Oh no, Oner is just melting. Polu goes in, gets the knock-up still. Hype just doesn't quite have it, and Oner stays alive. Able to actually get the kill onto Closer because he tanked the turret for about 6 million years.
Morgan's still going to get some value here in the mid lane. They're not going to find the end they were looking for. I think if they kill Oner or Guma there, they get it. As TP comes through from Doran. Morgan may die here. He doesn't get the turret either.
Yeah, Morgan is going to come in. There's the flash out from Morgan, but Doran still going to be able to find him. Slows him down momentarily here, but the harpoons land pretty well. Still Keria so extraordinarily fast. Finally, that scrap shield does come in, and Doran just blows him up. The equalizer is going to be able to get some popcorn chicken, so I guess there's that. As Paulo able to land a Q onto Oner here, but not too much going to come of that. And so now Morgan down for 45 seconds. T1 with all the control back.
They should be able to get this turret, and they have so much vision on the bottom side of the map for this dragon. The important thing is that Faker doesn't have teleport, and he's the one dealing with that top wave right now. So that's the one boon for Bros. This fight here, this is the one that makes Dagon proud, because it's so difficult to execute. You got on top of Doran, but you committed your ult. You don't have that anymore. Dropped equalizer. You cleared the wave. Didn't do that much damage. Now, how do you actually win and finish the fight from here without Hambach? It has to be Closer.
Triple Q.
Hype on the follow-up. You know, he sets up this ultimate here from far away, and he actually has to land these shots, and while Morgan is clearing and peeling for Oner, they actually followed up so well on it. Closer is having a great year. I really, well and truly think this is his best year. Like, the consistency we are seeing from this guy is insane. And Bro win the fight, but they end up having that little small punish onto Morgan. Now we're setting up the dragon here. The vision has been cleared.
Yeah,
Someone
this
has to deal with those top minions eventually, but Faker pushed out 2 waves.
This is actually, bro, with some control of a Dragon Pit. For the very first time this game. Even when they took the Baron, they didn't manage to do that as Equalizer to start the fight off as Gumayusi throws down the ulti, but he's immediately, never mind! He lives!
Okay, but he's basically dead. He's so low, he does not get hit by that final shot, but that should be enough here to start the Dragon off for Bro. Kuma has to go back. He has to go back to full health, and someone is still going to have to deal with that top wave. Now, this is still just the second Dragon here for Bro, so it's not a massive win, but it is a denial of soul here for T1. And it was such a decisive call from Bro. The fight initially looked like, okay, this is a little bit much. This is a little bit crazy. Can you get Guma? They didn't kill him, but did enough damage to deny the fight to T1. And those stats are going to be valuable on the Drake itself, but denying the soul is the big win. Baron's up in 30, so I think Bro need to reset and get over there and start clearing up some of that T1 vision.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. Man, I said this after the DK series. Every single series for T1 has just been a smorgasbord of stress.
Yeah.
And it is continuing. Oh, man. Gumayusi able to limp his way out of this one.
I think if Closer autos one more time before he rebinds, I think he does kill him, but it doesn't ultimately matter because the goal was to get the Dragon. Sure, he would have loved the gold, but at the end of the day, still a successful engage. Don't want to nitpick too much as Baron has spawn. Choke point control goes to Bro here, and they've got Morgan with his ultimate online.
Yeah.
Closer right now dead even with a Victor in damage at 36 minutes.
Pretty impressive. That being said, Faker is doing it with 2,000 less gold, which is pretty impressive.
That's true.
Still, the Bros just trying to push T1 away from the Baron. The Baron, I think a lot would say, is their home ground. But still, vision being cleared. And I think if Bro actually have the setup, right? If they're able to be the ones that strike first, they are so incredibly scary, especially in these choke points that Morgan can really capitalize on.
I mean, Hype does have 4 items, has his IE, but still not the best AD carry for rushing a Baron down. I think they're going to have to do more to T1 to actually start this realistically, or they're just going to have to force a turn. So I don't think they can ever burn this before T1 get in. It's just not going to happen. Hype holding the choke here, control wards down. T1 trying to find a straggler who's trying to get a little bit too far deep in that choke point. And the inhibitor is respawning soon. That's one thing that Bro still has, but isn't going to have for much longer. Faker's done a great job of cleaning up the wave.
The reset did come through there from Keria, so he's not going to be here with the Keeper's Verdict. Can they keep Owner out of the pit, though? That's going to be the question as they avoid a lot of Doran's damage, and that is significant, because if he lands a combo, then someone is half dead. That's just kind of how it goes. Speaking of half dead, Keria is going to have to walk out of that one, unable to throw his buckler around all that effectively, but still the Baron
T1 lost
continues.
That inner turret as well in the meantime. So something small, but still significant. Morgan, really good positioning here to control this choke.
Oh, he has an itchy trigger finger. You can feel it.
Oh, you
Wants
definitely
to equalize T1 as they're making their way in. Keeper's Verdict is going to get them off the Baron, and now T1, they're going to say thanks for the leash. Equalizer finally going to go down as there's a Chains of Corruption. Everything coming out here. Humbug lands a decent ulti, but Keria is already dead. Still, it's T1 that take down the Baron. Can they keep themselves alive, though? That's the big question. Hype is just trying to walk it off as the bullets stream in. They know the health bar is so incredibly low here as the flash out. Hype stays alive, and he may have just baited T1 into losing everything. Finally, Faker will find it, but is it actually going to be enough?
Closer's
because I think Owner is just dead, and Closer, like you say, will re-kill this inhibitor and look to just take T1 out.
Oh man, Bro outplaying T1 on a Baron, and that is going to be them taking the upset win here in game 1.
The Baron for Nexus trade, ladies and gentlemen. A tale as old as time. Is Keria gonna try his very best to deny the end of the game, and he has baited Bro for a few moments still. That's gonna be enough damage. Morgan and Closer get it done, and the Bros strike first.
And I'll be honest with you, we've had some series for T1 this year where you could definitely point your fingers at some players, you could point your fingers at certain moments in the game where T1 dropped the ball, but this was 100% of Bro earned victory.
100%.
Closer and Palu playing out of their minds. Morgan
Look at Edgar's face, man. That says everything right now. He is so incredibly stressed because he can feel that Bro could win this
Yeah,
series.
now you know it's winnable. Now you can believe, now you can trust that it's winnable because Bro earned this one. This was not a T1 toss away. And T1 got control of the Baron. Man, Guma's flash was so crisp because that was their MO all game long, is to layer those ults on Guma. He had his flash, he flashed instantly. It was a perfect flash, but they did so much damage with the Rumble. And the Hype is at like 10% health. He's brave enough to channel his ultimate, and that's where T1 makes the fatal error. They think they can punish the Jhin. They kite up, they're trying to get around, they're trying to get on top of him. Hype also flashes, and sure, he dies, but T1 all die with him, and the Nexus explodes. What a great start to what could be a phenomenal series, Atlas.
Yeah, I agree. The Bros being able to find ways back in to a game has not been something that this team has ever been good at. And so the fact that so much of the time the gold lead was in favor of T1 and they still get it done with good decision making is absolutely absurd. Time for us to take a short break. When we get back, the Space is going to break down the Bro victory. We'll have game number 2. We'll see you soon.
야, 17초 집중해봐.
아니 괜찮아 끝났어 무조건
나이스, 잘했다. 세주안에 한 판 이겼어.
야 탑에서 지렸지
나이스, 잘했다. 소리요. 나 살짝
다행이다.
정신이 안 찼나? 아니 근데 변정에는 그렇게 안 죽었어.
아니 근데 왜 죽어 나 패간다 했는데
아 미안. 아니 근데 나 진짜 죽을 줄 몰랐어. 아니 이주연이 이거 진짜 그냥
끝나
딱 끝내줘요.
잘하자
오케이. 우리 팀 나이스요. 한 판 잘해볼게. 잘했다. 가보자 형님들.